What if I told you that Facebook used to have holiday-themed Christmas and other holiday options for its text background? And what if I told you that I've been tracking how that's been going away for the last several years? My name's Chris, and on this channel, I remember things because someone has to. Hey, welcome to a special holiday edition of Ignored Facts. And I was working on a video, which will be coming out soon, in which I'm going to be talking about how private equity has ruined the job of being a doctor, a dentist, or a veterinarian at the same juncture in time in which most doctors, dentists, and veterinarians are now female. And I'm looking at whether or not there are parallels, whether or not this is coincidence, and that sort of thing. It's the sort of lighthearted fare that I usually do on the channel. If you'd like to be just sort of constantly depressed, then by all means hit like and subscribe. While I was doing the work on that, I checked Facebook, and I was interacting with some of my friends, and I entered into what has become for me and for my friend group a little bit of a funny annual Christmas ritual in which I track how there are no longer text backgrounders for short messages on Facebook which have holiday or Christmas themes. There used to be Christmas themed ones, there used to be Hanukkah themed ones. They were downgraded to winter ones, and now they've gone away completely. I make fun of this every year. It's something I noticed at first because I was using them for genuine, heartfelt holiday greetings to friends of mine, but I would also use them sarcastically when it was appropriate to say something like, "Merry Christmas, we're bombing Afghanistan for the 19th consecutive year." I'd put that kind of message up there, and there would be candy canes behind it and that sort of thing. So I was tracking the presence of these options. I'm talking, of course, about those short text message, large font Facebook text backgrounders that old people on Facebook are stereotypically made fun of for misusing. You know, they're telling you that their niece died of esophageal cancer, but they're using the background where heads are laughing so hard that they're crying. That's the type of thing that I'm talking about. And there used to be Christmas ones, and I'm pretty certain that there used to be Hanukkah ones, and there were general winter ones, and these have been downgraded and have gone away in a way that I've been tracking, and I find to be at once pathetic and hilarious. I should tell you as well, I'm an atheist. As it turns out, I was raised Catholic, which turns a lot of people into atheists. But I love Christmas. I love everything about the traditions of Christmas. I love growing up and seeing that. I'm from Philadelphia, so you'd go and you'd see the Wanamaker's Christmas show with John Facenda doing the narration and the dancing wooders. And you could go to Gimbel's and ride the monorail around the toy department, and you could go to the Dickens Village at Strawbridge and Clothier's, and just all of the decorations and the pageantry, and even a lot of the music. I just think Christmas is great. I think it's a wonderful tradition. I still celebrate a lot of those traditions in a secular fashion. I think really, if you're a true traditionalist, if you're a real conservative, then you should be very upset at Christianity's 1,500-year-long war on Saturnalia. Why don't we start there, huh? I found, as many people who are more liberal or lean left as I do, I found the whole notion of the war on Christmas to be ridiculous. Now, a lot of this seems to have started in the year 2000, 1999-2000. There was a website called vdare.com, which was described as conservative and also anti-immigrant. So apparently these are Christians who read their Bibles and read the story about Mary and Joseph and Mary being heavy with child, and decided to take away from that if there are migrants who are looking for shelter, you should definitely turn them away. Now, it turns out that VDARE was run by a human tumor named Peter Brimelow. And in December of 2000, Brimelow launched an annual War on Christmas competition. Well, no, he didn't do that. He would have had to launch an inaugural one. It's not until the second year that you get to say it's annual. That grinds my gears. He wanted people to highlight examples like the horror of Amazon using the greeting, Happy Holidays. Now, I grew up with Happy Holidays. I'm an older Gen Xer, and there were a couple of reasons that people said and continue to say Happy Holidays. One is that Merry Christmas and Happy New Year is a very long phrase. Another is that, again, I grew up in Philadelphia. I went to Philadelphia public schools, and about half of the white kids in my schools, who were at that time about a quarter of the kids total, were Jewish, as were an inordinately high percentage of the administrators and teachers. So, you know, there are years when the calendar's sort of more or less aligned so that Hanukkah is pretty close to Christmas, and Happy Holidays was sort of a gloss for all of that. But I have to say that when you knew somebody was Jewish, you'd say Happy Hanukkah, and if you knew that they were Christian, you'd say Merry Christmas, or you'd say Happy Holidays because you weren't going to see each other between Christmas and New Year's, and you were covering your bases on both. And it's that simple. In fact, the song Happy Holidays is from the Hollywood classic Holiday Inn, featuring Bing Crosby, among others. And the song Happy Holidays was composed way back in 1942 by one Irving Berlin, who, like a lot of the people who composed a lot of the beloved Christmas classic tunes in American English, was Jewish. That's not really important one way or the other. It just tickles me that there are all these trad moms out in the middle of the country in any town, USA, gathering the many children around the piano to sing a song that was composed by a Jewish man in Satan's own garden, Manhattan. Now, at the time, a lot of people who lean left and I laughed at the notion that there was some sort of war on Christmas as a result. The best example of this that I can think of is Sam Seder, who is now a co-host or the primary host of the Minority Report right here on YouTube, but also used to be an Air America radio host. He got on a national news broadcast to debate a conservative Christian group about the war on Christmas, and used it as a platform to suggest that we should have a war on Christmas, that we should be deploying troops, that we should print another $1 trillion and lose a few thousand American lives and be ready to kill millions of people to make a war on Christmas. He was actually linking that to the actual wars which were not being discussed on the channel, which were against Iraq and Afghanistan, against groups of people who certainly were not responsible for 9/11. So good for him. You should track down that footage. It's pretty damn funny. This was greatly expounded upon beginning in 2004 by Bill O'Reilly. Now, bless your heart if you're too young to know who Bill O'Reilly was. I'll describe him as your favorite bigot's favorite bigot. And O'Reilly, in between his apparent loofah sandwiches and falafel scrub downs, made the time to make a case loudly and often that there was a war on Christmas. Something that a lot of us, again, found to be ridiculous. This culminated in 2005 with a Fox News Cindy Lou Who named John Gibson writing a best-selling book about the war on Christmas, a wonderful stocking stuffer for your 2005 Christmas season. I wouldn't think that that sort of thing would be book length. I would think it would be more pamphlet length, or perhaps a series of cardboard signs that you would hold up on a street corner. There have been periodic spasms of the right going back to the 1920s and 1950s, kind of usually during Red Scare periods, of claiming that liberalism or the left or the commies, or however you'd like to phrase it, are attacking Christmas or making war on Christmas, a war on Christianity. And from what I can tell, the war on Christmas is going about as well as the war on drugs. Both drugs and Christmas are winning. In fact, some of you watching this are taking drugs right now in the holiday season, just so that you could deal with your relatives during Christmas. I was a late adapter to Facebook. About 11 years ago, I finally got a Facebook account after a lot of people my age and older had them. And I was doing so really to keep in touch with a lot of my meat space friends, people I knew from high school, that sort of thing, and who I was getting a little apart from. And I saw everybody had an account and was having conversations, so I figured, why not open an account and join? And my account largely, I'm not good at small talk. My account largely would end up being posts from antiwar.com or that sort of thing. I discuss political stuff a lot, and eventually, and this is why I can't show you visual examples of what I'm talking about. But eventually, about 2 years ago, my account got permabanned in the space of a couple of hours by Facebook, because I shared a Wikipedia post about an aspect of the Holocaust which is usually not well reviewed. It turns out that a quarter of my background is Polish Catholic, from an area called Galicia, which is now in Ukraine. It used to be in the Second Polish Republic and was in the Austro-Hungarian Empire before that. And during World War II, Byzantine Rite Catholic Ukrainian Nazis allied with Hitler just completely wiped out the population. They killed all of the Jews and killed or dispelled most Polish Catholics who are Latin Rite Catholics. This was more than enough of a reason to kill most people. And because I shared that Wikipedia article link about an aspect of the Holocaust, my account was considered to be a Russian propaganda account because it cast anybody present or past in Ukraine in a negative light. And I immediately lost all contact with over 100 friends and all of my posts for the last 9 years. I've had to restart another Facebook account with a different email address and other different data, a different version of my name and all that good stuff. So that's been a lot of fun. And for this reason, I'm mentioning this. First off, you should know that. But I'm also mentioning this because I don't have visual examples of the sort of holiday Christmas themed text backgrounders that Facebook used to provide. And to me, this is just completely ridiculous. It appears that because Fox News lunatics projected upon people that they think of as being on the left as having a ridiculous position, a generation later, it seems that there are people who think of themselves as liberals, and these are Silicon Valley people who are actually into neoliberal economics and some horrible technocracy nightmare, but they think of themselves as liberals because they're not necessarily mean to gay people. But these people still have decided that they are actually going to wipe Christmas and Hanukkah and any sort of specific celebration off the map. About 3 or 4 years ago, I started noting with these sardonic Facebook comments that we were moving from clear Christmas and Hanukkah themed messaging to winter. It was just generic winter. There were things like sweaters, a sweater pattern, but not a Christmas sweater pattern. Never the combination of red and green. They would never combine red and green. In fact, your ophthalmologist could never use any of the Facebook backgrounds as a color blindness test. And there was a studied nature to the lack of red and green, which my friends and I began to find to be progressively more hilarious. It was obvious that this was very much on purpose. They would show people skiing or people having a snowball fight, but the colors would be something like teal and orange. It was some sort of bizarro world nega Christmas in which we would make sure that we would avoid the colors red and green lest some imaginary person on the left be offended. Most of my friends are artists and punk rockers and all manner of lefties and liberals and anarchists and uncategorizables, and none of these people have a problem with Christmas. So I don't really know who this is for. I do know who Facebook is for. Facebook is largely for old people. Facebook is for old people. We know what Facebook is for. It's for older people who just want to say that they're proud of their grandchildren and they want to wish people a Merry Christmas or a Happy Hanukkah, and they want to probably decry immigration a little bit on the side and, whatever, free speech. But this just seems completely tone deaf to me, to who your audience is. My friends and I were laughing hilariously at these color combinations where you'd get like teal and orange, and there would be generic Bizarro World holiday greetings. I guess at 5:01 p.m. on the last weekday of the fourth fiscal quarter, jolly old accountant Mr. Clusterman would come down the HVAC duct and he would distribute paid time off to the good girls and boys. He sees you when you're working. He knows when you're on break. He knows if you've been satisfactory or unsatisfactory, so be satisfactory for Pete's sake. I don't understand what's going on at Facebook, but it's very clear that they gave the teenager shackled to a cubicle in Bangalore who was doing the graphics before they had AI take over. They told them, do something that looks vaguely festive and kind of wintry, but whatever you do, if you use red and or green, you're fired. And so they would come up with, winter celebration backgrounds, but they were using Minnesota Vikings colors. In any event, even those have disappeared. Those have even disappeared now. It's just sort of abstract expressionism and or just plain solid color backgrounds now. That is all you can do. And it is not explained. I tried to interact with, it's hard to look this sort of thing up. I don't really know what the keywords are to search on this sort of thing. So I actually used ChatGPT and I used some AI and I asked it about when Facebook seems to have introduced these things and when they seem to have gone away. And then ChatGPT told me that it looks like around 2016 was the peak of the holiday backgrounds, and that this went to winter backgrounds, and that these seem to have disappeared around 2022, 2023. Just disappeared completely. And that sort of tracks with my recollection of things as to when I was making fun of this. Now, had my account not been banned for my being against Nazis, which is apparently against community standards, I would be able to give you better data on that, but as it stands, I'm just totally locked out of that account, so I cannot. I do not have a life lesson for this for you. The best thing that I can say is that just because some lunatic accuses you of doing something doesn't mean that you have to actually do it. You can live your life living your life and not have to worry about trying to do the Superman Bizarro World version of the inverted reality that is being projected upon you or something like that. I do have this general concern about corporate types wanting to just wipe out culture and replace organic culture with the void. We're staring into the void at this point. I just wanted you to know that if you remember these backgrounds, you're not crazy. They did actually exist. They have gone away, and it seems extremely deliberate. ChatGPT was suggesting that perhaps because Meta AI allows people to create their own text backgrounds now, that's the reason that these options would go away. There are two reasons that doesn't make sense to me at all. One is that doesn't seem to be an option in my account. And the other is, and by the way, it says to that seems to be something that's just being rolled out this year in certain test markets. So that doesn't really make sense. But also the other backgrounds, the solid ones and the abstract ones, are available. And if anything, AI should have made it easier and cheaper than ever to provide a larger number of text backgrounds, not restrict the number that were there or take away ones that were already Facebook's intellectual property 10 years ago. None of this makes any sense. The only thing that makes any sense is that there's at least one person or department in Facebook that has actually declared a war on Christmas. I never thought I'd live to see the day. You should never be doing anything that makes Bill O'Reilly correct. And on that note, I suppose that I'll say I'm a little late for Hanukkah, but I hope you had a good one. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. If you're one of the 12 people still celebrating Kwanzaa, I hope you have a great one. When's Diwali? I don't know this year. I hope you have a good one. I think Facebook should have messages for all of those. I think that Ramadan and the Eids should have messaging text backgrounders. Why not? What harm does it do? All right, folks. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. I'll be back with another depressing video soon. If you enjoy this content, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments.